Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation or a meeting and immediately thought, did I sound okay? Did I come across as awkward? Did they actually like me? Maybe it was your boss, a new colleague, an acquaintance, or that hot person at the gym you always feel weirdly nervous around. And suddenly your brain is running around doing this performance review. Did I talk too much? Was the joke weird? Should I have smiled more? If that's you, don't fret. These feelings are totally normal. As humans, we all want to be liked. From the time we were kids, we were taught that likability equals to belonging. So no wonder we chase it, especially in our relationship, where so much of our value can feel tied to how people perceive us. But here's the kicker. Sometimes, the harder we try to be liked, the less likable we actually become. I know, that sounds backwards, right? If you're new here, hi, I'm Elizabeth, humanitarian, former United Nations senior advisor, and the author of the book, Human Skills, your human manual for navigating all human interactions. In today's video, we're unpacking one surprising thing you might be doing that's quietly hindering your ability to become more likable. It's that one habit so many of us fall into, maybe without even realizing it, that's working against our confidence, clarity, and our ability to build real trust with others. But here's the good news. Once you stop doing this one thing, you will not only feel more like yourself, you'll become more naturally likable without having to fake it, force it, or overthink every interaction. Let's get into it. Let me give you an example that might feel a little too familiar. You're in a meeting. Your manager suggests an idea that doesn't quite make sense to you. But instead of offering your honest input, you nod, smile, and maybe even say something like, yeah, that sounds good. Or you get an email at 6:02 p.m. Hey, quick favor, can you take a look at this tonight? And even though you were packing up to leave, you say yes. Not because you want to, but because you don't want to come across as difficult or unhelpful. That's the work version, but it doesn't stop there. Your friend suggests a restaurant you really don't like, but you go along with it anyway because you don't want to seem fussy. Your cousin makes a joke that stings. You laugh it off anyway and say nothing because, you don't want to start drama at the family dinner. You play along. You shrink just a little. You smile even when something doesn't sit right. And all the while, you tell yourself, I'm just being easygoing. I'm just trying to be liked. Sound familiar? This is called the likability trap, a term coined by writer Alicia Menendez in her book, The Likeability Trap, How to Break Free and Succeed as You Are. The likability trap is the belief that if you just go with the flow, avoid conflict, stay agreeable, never ruffle feathers, people will like you more, that you will be safer, more accepted, more valued. And listen, I get it. A lot of us were raised or socialized to believe that being likable is everything, especially in a professional environment, especially if you're new to that organization, especially if you're a woman or a person of color or part of a group that's historically been told to know your place. So of course we learn to play it safe. We become pleasant, accommodating, palatable. And here's what I've learned. The harder you work to be liked by everyone, the harder it becomes to be respected by anyone. And by the way, that includes yourself. Because people can feel when you're performing. They may not be able to name it, but there's this quiet dissonance. They sense when your smile isn't quite sincere, or when your yes doesn't carry real commitment. And here's the irony. The more you try to please, the more you start to disappear. You are agreeable, but forgettable. You are nice, but not trusted with the hard conversation. You are helpful, but somehow still feels overlooked. That's the trap. And if you've ever felt exhausted after a single day of interaction, not because of the work, but because of how much energy it took to be liked, then you've probably been caught in it too. But there's good news. And the good news is this. Once you can see the trap, you can step out of it. And it starts by flipping the script on what actually makes someone truly likable. Not just on the surface, but in a lasting, meaningful way. So how do we flip the script? We start by challenging what we've been taught. This idea that being likable means being agreeable, saying yes, going with the flow, never rocking the boat. But think about it. Who are the people you actually like the most in your life? Chances are they're not the ones who say yes to everything. They're not the ones who avoid disagreement. They're the ones who feel real, grounded, clear. They're the ones who speak up and do it with kindness. They're the ones who can tell you no and you still respect them. Now let's bring that into the workplace for a moment. You're in a meeting and two colleagues disagree. One politely challenges the idea on the table and says something like, I hear where you're coming from, but I think we might be overlooking something important here. They're calm, respectful, but honest. You might not even agree with them, but you respect the way that they showed up. Now compare that to someone who nods along, is quiet, and then vents to you privately afterwards. Who do you trust more? Who actually earns your respect? The truth is, likability rooted in honesty is far more powerful than likability based on pleasing. And it's not just at work. Think about your personal life. Have you ever had a friend who just mirrors everything you say? They never really offer a strong opinion or open up about their own feelings. At first, it might feel easy, but over time, that kind of dynamic can feel empty because real connection requires realness, vulnerability, boundaries. True connection is built on alignment, not performance. When you're aligned, when your values, your words, and your action match, people feel safe around you. They might not always agree with you, but they know where they stand. And that's what builds trust. So here's the flip. If you're constantly chasing approval, you are not building connection. You are building tension within yourself and with others. But when you start showing up as your full self, honest, clear, and kind, something incredible happens. People stop just liking you and start respecting you. And in any relationship, personal or professional, respect is what makes likability stick. Not charm, not people pleasing, respect. So, if you've been trying to shape shift to be more like, maybe the better question is this. What would it look like to show up as your authentic self instead? Because the most likable people, they are not trying to win everyone over. They're just showing up, grounded, human, honest. So here's the one thing I want you to stop doing if you want to be more likable. Stop bending yourself out of shape to be liked. Stop editing, filtering, and managing your every word and action just to avoid discomfort or rejection. Because here's the truth most of us don't hear often enough. The need to be liked becomes a trap when it's stronger than your need to be real. I'm going to repeat that again. The need to be liked becomes a trap when it's stronger than your need to be real. And when we're in that trap, we start making micro compromises all day long. We hold back the question we really wanted to ask in a meeting. We laugh at something that made us uncomfortable. We say yes to work we don't have the bandwidth for again. We turn ourselves down in a new relationship or pretend to agree in a conversation just to avoid that awkward moment of disagreement. At first, it seems harmless. We call it being polite, being easygoing. But over time, those little edges chip away at your clarity, your confidence, your identity. You start second-guessing yourself and everything. What do I actually think? What do I want? Am I being fake or just being polite? And the worst part, you might still not be liked or not even in the way that you hoped. Because people aren't connecting with you. They are connecting with a version of you that's constantly managing perception. And that's exhausting for everyone, including yourself. It's not sustainable, and it's definitely not where authentic likability comes from. And here's the irony. The moment you stop trying so hard to be liked is often the moment people actually start to like you more. Because you feel more relaxed, more grounded, more you. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not overthinking every word. You are simply showing up with presence, clarity, and respect for yourself and for others. And let's be honest, isn't that who you are drawn to? Not the person who seems perfect, but the one who's clear, who's real, and apologetically human in themselves? That's the shift. That's the skill. And that's where true likability lives, not in pleasing, but in authenticity, which is a core human skill. And now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever caught yourself trying too hard to be liked? What helped you to stop? Was there a moment when you realized wait a minute, I'm allowed to be myself and still be respected. Or maybe you've got your own tip, a simple mindset shift, or a phrase you use or a habit that's helped you become more naturally likable without losing a sense of yourself. Please drop it in the comment below. Your insight might actually be what someone else here needs to hear today. And if this video gave you something useful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been stuck in the likability trap and needs a gentle nudge back to themselves. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.